Okay, hey there. I thought that we'd just do a quick video on. I don't know why I say quick, and then like they're never quick, but let's pretend it's quick. But yeah, so basically a video on what we did in class the other day, and what we're doing, still playing around with our little character creation system, and what we were doing was working on the portrait part of it, but we had left an error. So if I run this, for instance, I get this null reference error right here. So I'm going to go ahead and get that taken care of real quick and just double click it and brings up here. And apparently the error has something to do with my attributes. And if I scroll up some, I see that my attributes is declared as a dictionary right here. And so the error is inside initialize attributes. So the problem here is that I've never actually initialized my dictionary before trying to use it. So right here, I'm just going to do a my attributes equals new dictionary. And notice the IntelliSense here is just trying to fill everything in for me based upon what I've already defined up there. So I'll just do a tab, open, close, parentheses, semicolon, and save that. And that will take care of that little error. So no big deal there. So let's go ahead and clear that. Clear it. There we go. So now if we run this, we're back to where we had it, where we can cycle through our races here. So our next step is going to be to get something working over here. Okay, now before I just run into that and start doing some stuff, let's kind of take a moment to figure out an aspect of some of what we're doing here. So I'm going to grab my pen. So I'm going to have, let's see, over here, come over here. So I'm going to have just a little outline here. And then down here, I've got right about here, boing, boing. So I'm just going to kind of like duplicate my little user interface out there. Okay, so this is where I want to put my pictures, right? So this is my little portraits. And give me a little bit of hair. There we go. So that's where I want to put my pictures. So the way that this is going to work is I'm going to have in one place, kind of figure out how we might want to program this. I'm going to have a collection, and I know I have terrible writing, collection of sprites. And this is going to be somewhere. And then inside my actual main program, if you will, my character generator, I'm going to have a local, or I'm going to put a set of sprites with an asterisk. Asterisk over here means that the sprites match race and sex selected. So up here, I have the collection of all sprites for male dwarf, male elf, female elf, whatever. And then over here, I'm just going to have a local set that matches only the race and sex selected. And then I'm also going to have another thing over here that is going to be my current picture. Okay, so I'm going to need to keep track of those. So there's going to be a relationship, oops, between these two, and then this current picture is going to be one of these. And then there's going to be a relationship kind of like that. And then so whenever they click next, we can just cycle through those. So I'm going to have this stuff set up in two different places, okay? All right, so that's a basic guideline to how we're going to try to approach this. So let's see. So our first step here, let's go ahead and let's move Photoshop out of the way real quick. Put it over here. And now that we've got Photoshop out of the way, okay, so following along in that Photoshop thing, sorry I had to step away for just a second there. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss that, and let's see. So I've got some scripts in here. I'm going to create a script. So I'll hit the scripts, create C# script, and I'm going to call this portrait handler. No, portraits. I'm just going to call it portraits. Yeah, because I am. So I'm going to call it portraits. Portrait handler actually makes more sense. So yeah, let me. Nope, I didn't want to do that. Reload everything, and I'm actually going to close it in here. And I've got the hiccups now. That's annoying. Okay, so I want to change the name of this one to be portrait. It's not a database, but I'm going to call it a database. And I should go like scriptable object or something like that. But yeah, I'm just going to go with portrait DB. There we go. And now I will go ahead and load that up inside Visual Studio. Do a reload all again. And make sure to change this from portraits to portrait DB since I just changed the name of the class. Update and start. I don't need any of these. I am going to be using a generic collection, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm just going to create a, too far? There we go. A public list. Let's see, I do not have UI up here, so let's go ahead and do a using Unity engine.ui. So my public list of sprites, sprite. And I'm going to do a m human, comma, f human. So I'm going to start off with the human ones. All right. Okay, good enough. Let's do a save on that. Let's go back into Unity, which is over here somewhere. There we are. Select my character system object I've got out here, and I'm going to pull this portrait DB script out onto there. What do you have against my script? Oh, I spelt it wrong. Portrait DB. There we go. Save that. And then let's go back over here again. There we go. We should be okay now. Character system, where you at? There you are. Portrait DB. Pull this over here. All right. So I've got an M human and an F human. So let me scroll down through my texture sprites that I've got. And so I'm in the female category human. Okay, so I'm going to select all of these. And I see that they're just textures. Sorry about that. And I'm going to change them from texture type default to be texture type sprite. Let's apply that. And then I'll go down and do the same to the male human, which should be down here. Male human, of which I think there's a whole bunch more. Yeah, there we go. Change those to be a sprite. And hit apply. Okay, so now I will go back to my character system, and I'm going to lock the inspector here. And the M human, I'm going to grab all of those sprites that I've got here and just drag them onto the M human right there. Give that a second. Then scroll up to the F human, which is right there, and I'm going to grab all of those and put all of those out here on the F human. I guess M human didn't take for some reason. All right. Oh, 54. Wonderful. All right. It just took a minute, so I'm going to break that back down to 0 and then bring them up here. Boom. There we go. Okay. So I've got a couple ready to work with. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to start off. All I want to do is I want to get this system displaying a sprite and then changing back and forth. So for that, let's go into, and I'm going to be working with my character generator right here. So I'm going to go into Visual Studio, bring up my character generator, and I want a couple of new things here. One thing I want is going to be a public image portrait. And that's going to be a reference to the actual image out there. Let's see, other things I'm going to want. I'm going to want a public list of sprites, and I'm going to call this picture list. I'll call it portrait list. And then I want one other public, and I don't need these public, but I'm doing these public so that we can see them change in the inspector so we can pick this up. And this other one is going to be called my portrait. There we go. Okay, so I've got all of those. And keep in mind, all I'm doing right now is I just want to get this basic system working, and then I'll tie it into the more complex version. Okay, so I come over here. I have a portrait right here. Let's find it. There it is. Let's go back to the character system. Oh, it's locked. That's good. And I'm going to put portrait right here. For portrait list, right now, I'm just going to put something in here. I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to grab the female drow portraits. I'm just going to put those into my portrait list. And keep in mind, the whole reason for this, I just want to get this next and previous button working. I just want something displaying. That's all I care about right now. Okay, so I've got a portrait list and I have my portrait. Let's go down here and start. And let's do a my portrait set default portrait update portrait image on UI. There you go. So do some comments there so we know what it is I'm doing. So my portrait equals portrait list bracket 0 bracket, and this is grabbing the first portrait that is in that list of portraits and assigning it right there. And then to update my UI, that will be portrait dot sprite equals my portrait. There you go. Let's see if this works. All right, before we go too much further, let's see if that works. So I'll go ahead and run this, see what happens. I got a portrait there. Okay, working. And I can see over here that my portrait right here has updated to element 0, which is the first one, portrait 12H. Ha, working. Okay, so we're off and going so far. Let's do our next and previous buttons. Now, before I go too much further into that, remember about a week ago or so, we did our in-class example where we could change this image right here, these Space Invader images. So I'm thinking this is the exact same thing. I mean, we've already done that. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my game object here, and I see I'm using, I wonder what script it is we were using on that. Let's go ahead and go to project. And, well, I bet it's in this enemy script because that's where I'm seeing my enemy sprites. So I want to go ahead and, can I just load that without corrupting projects? Yeah, good enough. So I've got, this is all the code that we did before. Let's see. No, there's my sprites, but yeah, I don't see any button stuff going on. So let's go back into that little project again, and it must be this UI handler. Okay, there's an image buttons, blah, blah. Okay, yeah, right here. This is where I'm doing my next button. I'm just going to copy this whole section right here. This is what we did in order to get our next button to work before. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go back to the project I'm working on right now and bring up my character generator script. And let's see, I'm going to need a, let's go all the way down here at the bottom. All the way down here at the bottom, I'm going to do a public void next portrait clicked. All right. Then I'm going to paste that code in there. And I'm going to get errors, and that's fine. So what was going on? Well, first we were determining what the max index was, and the max index, let's see if I can get Photoshop. Photoshop went like completely black on my other screen. This is wonderful. Save that file. Put it on my desktop really quick. And then I can bring Photoshop back up. Okay, yeah. So now I'm going to reload Photoshop. So we were getting the max index. We were figuring out what the current sprite was, and we were doing that by looking at what was being displayed out there on the screen. But I'm thinking, you know what? Don't we already have a variable up there that was called my portrait? And isn't my portrait going to be the one that's currently on the screen? So, come on, Photoshop, quit fighting me. Okay, let's load this. There we go. So what that kind of tells me is that I've already got this. I don't need that one because that one is my portrait. And then I had a current index, and what I did for that was I went through and I found within my list of sprites, this enemy sprites right here was my list of sprites that I was using in the dictionary, or in the that other example. And I went through that list of sprites and I found my current sprite, and that became the index that I'm currently on. Okay, so I know that this is not going to be enemy sprites. This is going to be my list that I've got in here. And that list was portrait list. And this is not going to be current sprite over here. This is going to be my portrait. My portrait. There we go. And then up here, once again, this is not going to be enemy sprites. This is going to be portrait list. Portrait list. There we go. Okay, so just to kind of refresh what it is we're doing there, we'll bring Photoshop up really quick, and we'll hide that layer. Grab my pen. So I have a list of, get out here, boom, there we go. So I have a list of sprites, right? List of sprites. And that's going to be, I'm going to call it IMG 0, IMG 1, IMG 2, IMG 3. And each one of these have an index. And that index will start at 0, 1, 2, 3. So I need to know if I'm going to loop through these pieces right here, which is what I want to do. I want to loop them. I need to know the highest number, which I'm going to call max index. And the max index is going to be however many of these I have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's going to be, come on, get down here. It's going to be my total, which in this case is 4, minus 1. Notice that gets me right here to this 3. Okay, there we go. So that's my max index, and I need to know what my current index is. Current index. And the reason I need to know the current index, I need to know where I currently am in my list of sprites. So that way when I get down here to the bottom, I know that I want to reset back to this top piece right here. So that's the basics of what we're putting together here as far as the variables and why we're needing them. So if I come back to not the dictionary, so come back down here. So I don't need this switch. I'm not using a switch in here at all. Means, oh, that looks fine. Let's clean this up a little bit. So I select all of these, do a shift tab, change my indentation. Let's select these guys, tab, there, shift tab. Okay, so I'm coming in here. My current index is wherever my current portrait is. Let me bring Photoshop back up real quick. So let's say I'm currently displaying image number, which one is this? That one. Let's move it over here. There we go. So my current index, yeah, that didn't really help. No, over here. Come on. There we go. So my current index right here, let's say I'm displaying this one right here at the moment, okay? So my current index equals number 2. That is my current picture that I'm displaying. I'm going to increase my index by 1, which will take me down here to 3. If my current index equals the max index, I'm going to go ahead and reset. Now, in this case, you can tell right away, well, I don't want to do it that way. What I want to do is I want this max index to catch when I'm out of bounds, which would be down here with the 4. So I don't need this minus 1. Not going to do that at all. So if current index equals max index, well, it doesn't. Max index is 4. So it doesn't equal that. So what do I want to do if it doesn't equal that? Well, let's see. I want my portrait to equal portrait list current index. Whatever one's displayed there at the current index. And then I want to update my screen. Portrait dot sprite equals my portrait. There we go. Okay, so let's see if that works. We'll save that. Get rid of that. I'll bring that back up. And let's go see what happens now. Boop. So I'll play this and see if our next button works. It does not. Why does it not? It doesn't because I haven't assigned it out here. I have a terrible, terrible habit of not remembering that. Portrait next. There we go. So I'm going to go with a plus right here. My object is going to be my character system. Close that. Followed by, sorry about that. Followed by, what do I want? Character generator? Next portrait clicked. Right there it is. Okay, let's play this again. Ah, looks pretty cool. And does it cycle back around? Let's see. Yep, there's that redhead one again. Let's see if we get the redhead one. Yep, cycles around the way it's supposed to. Okay, so let's make the other one work then. So I'm going to basically copy all of that. Hit enter a couple times, paste that in here, and make some changes to it. Previous portrait instead of next. All of this stuff is pretty good. Yeah, I'm going to use that. Current index minus minus. I'm going backwards, not forward. If current index equals -1, that would be, to show you what I'm talking about here, that would be I'm at 0. I just subtracted 1 from current index, so I'm up here at -1. I'm outside the bounds. I need to come back down here and reset. And this time I need to reset to this total -1 because the total is 4. Okay, so let's see. So I will reset to right here. Max index -1. This is the same and that's the same. So let's save that and see what happens. So we'll play that. Oh, no, we won't play that because I have to go to the previous button, add, go find my character system right up here. And the function I'm going to use will be in my character generator. And the function will be previous portrait clicked. All right, let's take a look at that. Now that's working. Do I get the redhead again? I do. Okay. There's the redhead. Seems to be working, right? All right, yeah, seems to be working. Okay, so that's part 1. I've got those basic pictures working. Now I want to tie this into the sex and the race of the character. So let's go to character system. This portrait list that I created for testing, I'm going to reset that back to 0. I no longer need anything to default in there. Let's do some tweaking to my view here. Let's see. This portrait border thing, this contains all my portrait stuff. I'm just going to move this down a little bit. Something like that. And then I'm going to grab this save button. Where is it? Right there? Actually, no. Let's go into labels here, and I'm going to grab my name label. I'm going to do a Control D. Move that over to here. Right about there, maybe. Let's change its text to be sex. There we go. Looks pretty good. See, I want to lower my width. What I'm kind of thinking about, you see how it goes over? Well, if my button is right there, I have that overlap. So I'm going to shorten that some. Okay, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to change the name of this label from name label to be sex label. And then, where's my save button that I wanted to play around with? There it is, save button. I'll do a Control D. I'm going to change that one from save button to be sex button, like so. Let's move this up here somewhere. Right about there. Looks good. I'm going to open up the sex button there. In the text, I'm going to put female here. When you're creating your UIs, always put the largest text value in there so that you can actually set things based upon what the largest one is going to be, not the default one. So let's decrease our size. There we go. And let's move this a little bit this way. Okay, so my first step is I want to get this female button switching back and forth, right? And let's see, I'm done with that other project, with that dictionaries example project. So let me go ahead and close that. Make it a little bit easier going back and forth here. Okay, I wasn't sure if it was closing or not, which also means I'm done with the Visual Studio aspect of that. So I'll close that. There we go. Okay, so let's go into our code right here. And actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and create a new layer. Just kind of make sure that we understand what it is I'm going to be trying to do here. So I'll maximize that, zoom in a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to have a variable. And it's going to be a bool is male. True equals male character. False equals female character. All right, like so. And then if we wanted other ones, well, we'd have to not use this approach, but use an enumerator. Well, I'm just not going to do that right now. Okay, so I'm going to need those. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to have we've got a button out there, right? That by default says female. When it's clicked, we need to see, so we need to do something like what sex? Switch bool and update button text. So that's what we need to put together. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do. All right, so we've got a basic outline there. Let's go ahead and do, let's bring up this. Come on, Visual Studio. No? Visual Studio is like, no, I'm not going to do it. Can I bring up anything? No? Really? The whole thing just died, huh? Okay, hold on just a second. Well, I guess you can't hold on because apparently I can't click a thing anywhere. This is so odd. Oh, there we go. I can click something. That was so weird. Can I click you? Yay! Okay, so I'm going to go all the way back up to the top here. And I'm going to create a, up here, I've already got a race text and a class text. Let's do a comma sex text because I just said I'm going to have to change the text that's displayed. And then I'm going to do a bool is male equals true. So I'm going to default to male. Okay. And notice I set this as private instead of public because I kind of don't really need that anymore. There's num attributes. I don't think I'm actually using that anywhere. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm not. When we did our dictionaries, we got rid of that. I don't know why I left it there. Okay. Let's see. I'm updating some stuff here because a lot of these were public as we were developing. They no longer need to be public. You see this dictionary is private. I'll make you that way. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a comma and delete you guys up to here. Just clean this up just a little bit. I'll leave these public so we can see those. These have to be public because I'm assigning them up there. Okay, I feel a little bit better about that. Okay, so let's go down here into this area. And I'm in the start. I'm going to update default sex text on a button. So this will be sex text dot text equals male. And then down here, I will say if not is male, sex text dot text equals female. And the whole reason I'm doing that is just on the off chance that during development at some point we decide, you know what, I don't want this to default to male anymore, just chuck this part right here. And then my code will be just fine. It won't care. Okay, so let's go all the way back down. All the way back down to my button handler areas. And I'm going to do a public void change sex button clicked. There we go. All right, so we're going to say, what are we going to say? We are going to do if is male. So if it already is male, we're going to say is male equals false. Nice. And then we're going to say sex text dot text equals female, because we just switched from male to female. And then we'll come down here and we'll say else. I don't need an if in there. Is male equals true, because we're going from female to male. Sex text dot text equals male. Oops, hit my caps lock. Male. There we go. All right, let's see what that does. And let's see if we can now switch this text label back and forth here. But it should work. It won't work yet because we need to go to our sex button right there. We need to assign some things. Let's go to our character system. And I'm back to not being able to click anything. Okay, there we go. Character system, there it is. We have this sex text. Well, that is the text inside the sex button. So let's assign that there. Let's grab our sex button. There we go. Let's do a plus. Still do a plus. There we go. For my object, character system, for goodness. Can I try that again? For my object character system? Okay. Can I drag it down here? Okay. So basically, we're to the point where you don't want to do a thing at all. Okay. All right. So let me pause this while I restart Unity. Okay. So I think I'm back. Had to do a complete restart of the computer. I have no idea what was going on. Where was I? Oh, we're getting ready to test this button, weren't we? Oh, but I couldn't set everything up. Okay, so I've got sex text right there. Let's go into our canvas. Let's look at the button. And yeah, I was trying to add something to the on-click here, so I hit that object character system. Looks good. I'll close that. The function I want is going to be found in character generator sex button clicked. All right, let's see what happens. We'll run this. And notice I'm building little pieces of this at a time. I'm not trying to build the whole thing. Okay. Well, I mean, that's working, but there was something weird at the beginning, I thought. Shouldn't this say female? I mean, shouldn't that say male? Let's take a look at our code. Apparently, I've got something wrong in the start. So yeah, back to what I was just kind of referencing. Notice I'm not doing a whole lot at one time. I'm doing a little bit, and I'm testing it. And this is something that, as new programmers, that it's we get this idea. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and do this whole thing at one time. And well, then when it doesn't work, we don't know where it's not working. So I've got an argument is out of range. Okay. Trying to figure out what's going on here. Clear that. I mean, that's working, but I don't fully understand why it's showing up as female to begin with. I got an argument out of range. Seems like I actually had this happen in class, and it was like, I don't know why it's doing it. Oh, yeah, I actually don't know why it was doing this. This was really weird, at least if it's what I think it is. Character generator line 37. All right, let's go to my character generator line 37. My portrait equals portraits. Yeah, I know what's going on here. So what's going on is I actually don't have a default portrait list. So I actually need one, which is fine. You can see the button is working though. It just didn't do that because it errored out right here. Okay, fine, great. So I need a default portrait. Let's see here. Well, right here I'm setting up my race, right? Let's go to our portrait database. And I see I've got M human, F human. Okay, so that's what I've got so far. So I've set up my race to be human. Good. So let's go here, and I'm going to do I'm just going to default to male. Portrait list equals get component, because I'm getting this from the portrait DB thing that I have attached to this, portrait DB dot, and it is going to be M human. M human. There it is. So I'm just going to default to male human right away. So I'm grabbing this male human list that I have in this portrait database script, and I'm putting that list in here. And then with this portrait list, I'm grabbing the first sprite within it and putting that sprite in here. And then I'm taking this sprite and I'm assigning it to the sprite component of my portrait UI object. So let's see how this works. Let's go ahead and, so this time I should get a different picture up here. I didn't, but that's cool. Let's figure out why. Argument, I'm still getting that argument is out of range. Did I not save this? I did not save it. What's the point of saving? Saving is so overrated. Oh, male picture. This says male. All right, we're looking good so far. Nice. Okay, so next step. Whenever they click this, I want to update in there, right? So let's go down here. Let's go into our button clicked. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to get rid of this is male false here. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. I don't know why I got rid of the else. That was moderately dumb on my part. Else. I'm going to go end boink else. There we go. And then I'm simply going to do is male equals whatever is male currently is not. And all this did was get rid of the is male equals false and is male equals true. So is male equals the opposite of its current value. So if it's currently true, now it's false. If it's currently false, now it's true. And then right up here, I'm just going to change the text based upon what it currently is. If it's currently male, that means I'm getting ready to make it female. So I'll change the text, and then I'll just do that. All right. Last thing I want to do here is go ahead and update. I'm going to call this update UI. Because in the end, I'm going to be doing a bunch of updates to the UI. So I'm just going to do an update UI. Let's scroll up. And I want to get past all of my... I want to get past... Okay, next race click. So that was the first of my button stuff. There we go. So right here, I'm going to do a void update UI. And what I want to do to begin with is I simply want to update the picture. But the picture has to be updated based upon the sex and the race, right? Okay, well, I don't know either one of these. So the best way to figure this out, I've already got a method in place that's called this check class, right? And this check class, what it does is it goes through and it figures out what class I currently am. Okay, fine. So let's do a update UI. I'm going to do a check class. So I'll go ahead through there and just go ahead and hit my check class and have it figure out what class I am. And up there, it's going to change my local portrait list. So that means down here, I can say my portrait equals portrait list 0, the first element in there, and then I can update what I have on the screen equals my portrait. There we go. All right, so let's come up here and let's put some pieces together. So I have, oh, I didn't want to do check class, did I? No, I wanted to do, don't I have a check race? Yeah, I wanted to do a check race, not check class. Check race is what I wanted. Check race. There we go. Okay, so I've got human. All right, cool. So humans goes through and adjust attributes, whatever, random attribute, whatever. Okay, fine. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and default this to a male. So I'm going to say portrait list equals get component portrait db dot m human. If not is male, on the off chance it's not male, I'm going to say portrait list equals get component portrait db dot f human. There we go. Okay, so this will change from whether it's the male human or the female human. I'm in human and I can figure out whether I'm male or female right there. And then once I've made that change, I will grab the first picture in that new list, assign it to my portrait, then assign my portrait to be the sprite of the portrait object out there. Let's see what happens. So we'll play this. Aha! Female. Male. Female. Okay, fine. Well, let's go a step further. Let's make sure this is working. So I've got female drow is already set as sprite. So let's go find the male drow. The male drow. There we go. I'm going to change those to be a sprite. Apply. Okay, let's go into our portrait DB right over here. And now I'm going to create another two lists. Public list sprite m drow comma f drow. There we go. Let's go back into Unity here. Character system. Notice I have an m drow and an f drow. So my m drow is going to be all, what, 5 or 6 of those? Oops. So lock my inspector. There we go. It's going to be like those guys. That's my m drow. And my f drow is right here. I'm going to go right there. Okay. All right, let's get back here into character generator. And so everything's already in place. All I need to do is make some changes up here if the race is a drow, which is right here, right? Yes, right here. So right here I'm going to say portrait list equals get component portrait database open close parenthesis dot m drow, because I'm defaulting to male. If not is male, portrait list equals get component portrait db dot f drow. Okay, let's see what happens there. So go ahead and come back into here, run this. All right, this is working. Let's go find drow. Ooh, notice nothing happened, right? This happens. It updated correctly there, but notice that when I went to my drow here, nothing is happening over here. Okay, so now I know the problem has to do with clicking this button right here. This one I already know works. This works. This works. The problem has to do with clicking this button. That has to be where the problem is. So let's go take a look at the code that handles clicking that button. Next race clicked. Okay, we've got all that code we did for figuring that out. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and let's get rid of that real quick. Okay, so then down here, I'm just going to do an update UI, and there we go. And that connects to the UI to update it. And then I'll add that to the previous race clicked as well. Update UI. Save that. Okay, let's see what happens now. Okay, that's still working. Let's go find drow. Oh, hey, that worked. I can go through all of those. Go to the female. And there we go. So now I can cycle through all those portraits. So now I have my portrait system going. I still need to set up the rest of the list, but I've got it started and ready to go here. Any questions, just let me know.